very familiar face to most Leyton Orient fans who have been at the Matchroom Stadium over the years. Errol McKellar, how are you doing?
Alright, thank you.
We're here obviously to talk about Errol's unsung work in the community, just to find out a bit about the man himself, what he does in the community, and his brush with prostate cancer in the past, and steps that he's done in the community to combat this disease, and also the famous Olympic torch bearing that he went on not so long ago.
Yes.
So we just start off, just how long have you been involved with Leyton Orient?
I've been with the club just over 16 years and I enjoy every minute of it. You know, every year is a new challenge, and I've been very fortunate that I've worked with some very, very good coaches in the club, as well as the players and staff. You know, it's been an exciting time for me.
Did you start as a fan of Leyton Orient, or were you?
No, I came here as a scout.
Did you?
I started scouting for the club, and on top of that, my stepson also came into the club as a youth team player and worked his way through the programme and ended up playing for the first team.
Oh, nice. Yeah, nice introduction to get into the club.
Yes, I was quite pleased with that. To date, I've probably worked every year. For me, is about helping the younger players to progress through the youth system.
Right. And that's what you work with closely, is more or less the youth set up till.
Yeah, I've always been actively involved with the youth. I mean, very fortunate that the management side of the club have always made me a part of their backroom staff, and I've been involved in most of the setups that go on in the club. So
must be doing something right then if they've kept it.
I think so. You know,
what changes have you seen over the time as the different managers come in and as the club has evolved in the community?
Well, every manager that's been at the club has always been active in their work with the community, and I think that's where I've had some of my best learning programs from, to be fair, both from the managers and the players alike.
Yeah.
You know, so everybody's always willing to help the young ones. You know, if I speak to the managers that's been with me since I've been in the club,
yeah,
they've always got good words to say to the youngsters and also the players.
As the years have evolved as the club, do you think that the emphasis in the community as a club has improved?
Yes.
And got more in depth?
Yeah, it's got better.
Would you like to see it get better even more?
Yeah, there's a lot more. I mean, I'm not going to fool anyone and say that it's perfect. There's a lot more that we can do, but you know, we are making progress, and it's important for a club like Leyton Orient that we are involved with the community. The community is probably the 12th man, if you like, for us. You know.
For a club this size, well, the community is vital, isn't it?
You know, and it's very important that from a community base that they see a player that comes through the youth programme and makes it into the first team, because that, you know, that it's great encouragement for us to go out and bring someone else in.
Yeah, true. Speaking of players, I know that you worked with a certain Kevin Lisby when you were a coach, and he was a few years younger.
Yes,
talk to me about him.
Young Kevin, you know, he was a fiery youngster, but I have to say, you know, I was very proud and very honoured to have been part of his coaching programme when he was a youngster for about 3 years. Always had bags of enthusiasm. What you see now, Kevin was like that when he was 10, 11, 12 years of age. You know, and he is living proof that what comes out of the community, right, it does work.
Yeah, we spoke earlier about the emphasis on working in the community and trying to unearth gems like Kevin Lisby. In regards to, he was spotted by a scout that was there to watch some other player. Yes. So how many players do you reckon are out there? So like Kevin Lisby.
Do you know, there is probably 2 teams worth of players like Kevin Lisby, just in the Hackney area alone.
Right.
You know, I've been very fortunate in my coaching programme to have worked with a lot of very good players that have come out of Hackney. I mean, you know, I coached the London side that had Ledley King, J. Lord Samuels and Ashley Cole.
They've done all right.
Yeah, I'd like to say they've done all right. You know, I was very fortunate to have spent 2 years working with them. You know, again, from a community basis, you know, I was very fortunate to have worked at Ridgeway Rovers with young David Beckham for 5 years. Again,
Taking credit for his right foot a bit?
yeah, I would take credit for the free kicks, I think. But no, fair dues to him. You know, he was always a conscious worker and worked very hard on the pitch. You know, and everything you see that he does is a testament to his hard work.
Right.
You know, again, you know, from the community part of it, I coached Simrad boys, which had Sol Campbell and Adi Akinbaye. I also coach a young Jason Brissett, Micah Hyde. So I've worked with some very good youngsters.
Good players, yeah. As you're saying, it's all in that Hackney area, isn't it?
Yeah. Hackney, you know, the borough of Hackney itself, right? Everyone knows that the amount of footballers that just come out of Hackney on its own. But, you know, East London in general, right? Waltham Forest, Newham, those areas, right, have produced very, very good footballers. And it's for us as a community football club to capitalise on those players.
Yeah. So you think that the club should really use it as a hotbed of talent and try and get their fingers more in the pies? Yeah,
because other football clubs have cottoned on to that idea of finding players, and they're actually coming into our back garden, if you like, and picking out the players that really we should be getting before the big clubs go and get them. You know, so it's something we've got to work on. But, you know, we've got people in place to try and make things happen, and that's what we're hoping to improve on.
What do you think is a main attribute of yourself when working with children? What do you, kids and stuff like that, and youth? What do you think is?
Well, I'm very fortunate because, you know, I've worked in the community, you know, and I still work in the community. You know, my day job, I run a garage in Hackney. So, you know, I'm in touch with the community.
I think Moons is trying to get a free service or somewhere along the line,
well,
actually. Did he
Moons
on that?
Moons has promised me a few goals, and I've said to him, you get the goals and I'll service your car.
Out for now,
you know, but I'm very fortunate because I work in the community. I'm allowed to go into places like schools and youth centres and hostels and speak to people one-on-one.
Yeah.
You know, I am actually a registered mentor for the borough of Hackney anyway. So when the kids who unfortunately go off the rails and get themselves into trouble, I then have to go and represent them, you know, in terms of going to the police station or just being around them, speaking on their behalf, because that's an era where they're not quite articulate in dealing with.
Yeah. Do you find it quite a difficult job to deal with?
Well, it's not a difficult job, it's an important job.
Not difficult in regards to, but do you find it perhaps hard to deal with in regards your heart goes out to certain kids?
Yeah, because you know, you emotionally, in that sense, you're right. It's probably difficult because you get an emotional attachment to it. You know, and every single one you want to help to make them better, but you have to accept that, you know, sometimes you might save one and lose out on 4 or 5.
Yeah.
You know, so it needs a lot more. They need a lot more mentoring.
Right.
You know, because the kids don't have a father role. And then that becomes a problem because then they feel that no one cares about them and they haven't got a great deal of respect for themselves, unfortunately, which ends up being passed out to other situations.
Right. I think that's an invaluable thing that you're giving to the children, as I said. And
well,
it's perhaps a role that many people should follow.
Well, I think, you know, fair dues to people. I mean, you know, especially the football club itself, you know, Leighton Orient have actually been great, you know, because they've given me a platform to go out there and spread the good word. I mean, I've set up quite a few soccer schools, right, and soccer camps, right, in the boroughs of Hackney anyway. And, you know, because of Orient's good name, right, it's helped me to do that.
Right.
You know,
and you were quite rightly recognised with culminating in the Olympic torchbearer.
Well, yeah, that came as a surprise, really. I got chosen by the community for services to the community to represent Hackney by carrying the Olympic torch, which I was very honoured and very proud.
Yeah.
You know, but I have to say that without the two, the community and Leighton Orient, it wouldn't have been possible.
Yeah.
So
it was great for them to recognise that, recognise your contribution.
You know, very proud. And,
yeah.
You know, I'm so grateful to the community for allowing me to do that, and to not only just carry the torch, but to also share it with them.
Yeah.
You know, because I've been very fortunate that since I've done the Olympic torch, which was a great occasion, you know, I've been able to go back into the community and share the joys of that with
With
the
them,
kids
yeah.
and the adults in schools and nurseries, and I've been to the hospice in the community as
Yeah.
well, and so it just, it's like a return of what they've allowed me to do, really.
Oh,
you know
brilliant.
and representing the football club, I'm grateful for their support as well.
Fantastic. Another reason we have you here is your dealings with prostate cancer in the past,
Yes.
and your work in the community on your own behalf as well,
Yeah.
and in the community
Yeah.
in raising funds for such a great and worthwhile cause.
Yeah, well, there was a shock. While I was doing all the bits and pieces that I was doing, I had a situation where I went to the doctors to have a checkup.
Now tell the real story. Tell the real reason you went, because
Well, do you know what?
this
I
needs
mean,
to be said.
everyone laughs at this, but it's a point that needs to be taken. My wife, bless her, was complaining about my snoring. So I said to her, Sharon, make the appointment with the doctor, and I'll go. And she did. So I went to the doctor, and while I was sitting in the reception, waiting to be seen by the doctor, I picked up a leaflet on the table and read the leaflet, and thought, okay, well, I'll find out what you need to do just to do what's on the leaflet. I went to the reception. I said to the lady in the reception, how long does this take? And she said, the test to check for prostate, right, takes 10 minutes. Right. I said, fine. So had an injection, a blood test, gave a blood test for it. Saw the doctor for the snoring. Left the surgery, never thought any more about it. Went home, and I said to the wife, I said, while I was at the doctor, waiting for the doctor, I did a test for prostate. She looked at me a bit strange, just to think, well, you went there for your snoring. Why would you?
Why did you do
Yeah,
that?
but we said no more about it. About 2 to 3 days after that, I got a phone call from my doctor asking me to come back.
Yeah.
Right. So I said, is there anything wrong? He said, well, look, you need to come back. We just need to do another test on you. So I went back and had another blood test. And from that, right, he sat me down and said, look, we've booked you in for a biopsy, right, which at the time I didn't understand what a biopsy was, because we found something in your blood and we need to check to see what the extent of it is. And when I had the biopsy, which was very painful, but very important, that's when they told me the extent of the problem that I had. And it was a bit difficult to take in to start with, because then I'm thinking, well, what does it all mean?
But it was just confusion.
It was, it was a shock, and recovering from it was probably more difficult, because first of all I had to come to terms with understanding what it was, and then how I was going to deal with it. I mean, everyone that knows me knows that I'm always a very happy-go-lucky type of person. I've lived life to the full, and to be fair, really, I've never really had a situation that I couldn't deal with. And this was probably the only one that I was facing, and not having a plan as to how I was going to deal with it. But after a few tears, and then sitting down and talking to the wife about what I should do and what I shouldn't do, I then decided, look, I need to turn this negative into a positive. And then I sort of became involved in the campaign to let people be aware of what they need to do when this situation arises. And I was very fortunate that in my business, it gave me the tools to go and tell people.
Just make people aware.
But what I came up against was people's reluctance to actually go to the doctor to do any tests at all. So I then sort of came up with a campaign, because I run a garage that repairs cars. I said to people, you come and have your car fixed, I'll give you a discount if you go and have your PSA checked. Right, well, people like the idea of that, so that's encouraging people to do it. I mean, so for me now, I've now sort of decided that I have to tell a minimum of 100 people a day to go and get their prostate checked. And since I've had the problem and had the operation, and fortunately I've been cleared of the
Which is a
cancer,
success, which is
was a
fantastic
great,
news,
great
yeah.
success, but I was very lucky.
Yeah.
I caught mine very early.
Angel on your shoulder, really, when you think of
Yeah,
the circumstances, how you even went for the test.
Yeah, because it was for me it's a freak of nature, really.
Yeah.
I had no intention of having a check done for something I knew nothing about.
Yeah.
But what's more critical for me is that in 18 months since I've had the problem, 16 people have been diagnosed with the same problem
Right.
that I've actually told to go and do the test. Unfortunately, 2 of them have died since. So for me, it's even more important that
Get the word out.
people understand and get the word out. And what I tell people, please just go and spend 10 minutes. That's all it takes. It costs you nothing.
Because I was fortunate, as you know, that to work with Prostate Cancer UK earlier in the year.
Yes.
In raising money for that, because as I said, my family's been touched by cancer on the female side of it.
Wow.
So I felt like it meant more to me to work on the man's side in regards to that affect men in particular, obviously prostate, testicular, stuff like that. And the statistics surrounding prostate, which you're totally unaware of, it affects 1 in 8 men in the UK, and it's obviously a greater percentage affects Afro-Caribbean men.
Well, I was going to touch this point, which you've gratefully brought forward, that since learning about the problem, because it took me to have this problem to really start learning about what goes on with it, and I now realise that an average of 8 out of 10 Afro-Caribbean men will have this problem, right?
That's a massive statistic, isn't it?
It's a frightening set of numbers, really. So the point I get over to people now is it's very, very important to do this test. Because touch wood, if you do it and there's no problem, it's fine. But if you do it and there is a problem and you catch it early, you've got more chance of dealing with it. As I said, to date, I've raised just over £12,500 for prostate cancer. But the work doesn't stop there. For me now, I am actively involved in trying to get every single man that I speak to go and do a test.
And you also made a good point of speaking to their wives and partners, because they're
and
the
it's
ones
not just the men, just the men. I talk to the wives, the girlfriends, the sisters, and I speak to mothers, and I'm saying, listen, tell your sons to go and get the test done. Because people look at me and they say, well, we didn't even know you were ill. I said, I didn't know I was ill. That's the problem. I didn't know I was ill. But to have the problem where I had to have, at my age, I was 53, right, and I had to have the whole of my prostate removed. Right now, I was very lucky, and because, as I say, I only went to the doctor for something completely different, did I find this problem. Of the 16 people that I've told that I've done the test, unfortunately the 2 that have died, it makes me feel partly responsible now, because I'm even more determined not to lose anybody else.
And to try and catch it earlier.
And let's catch it early.
Do you think it is a case of the more people know, the better it'll be, or do you think it's a case of men's ignorance regardless not going to get checked up?
The problem that we have to, it's unfortunately men's ignorance more than anything else, right? What we have to do is understand that the human body, right, there's things that are going on that we still don't know a lot about, right? But, if it's a simple 10-minute test, right, then go and do it. It costs you nothing. All it costs you is 10 minutes of your time.
Just to get it. Put your life in check, really, isn't it?
And don't wait until you know somebody that's got the problem, right, before you deal with it. Go and do the test, right? I'm still sort of speaking to people that are reluctant to do the test because they don't want to know. And that's a problem that has to be eradicated.
What advice would you give to people that have been diagnosed with cancer from your own experience?
Well, always remain positive, right, because I've been very fortunate that, I've been around very good people that are very positive, and they've given me the encouragement, because, the recovery is just as important as that in the operation, and if you are positive, then you will send that to somebody else. And by encouraging people to believe that they will get better, because there is a cure, there is a cure, and at some point we will get that cure,
Yeah.
But until we get that cure, we have to believe that it's going to work. You know, otherwise, if we give up, then you know it means nothing.
Yeah. Looking ahead to the future in regards to your work in the community and your campaigning and football.
Yeah. Well,
what are your thoughts for
well, the first
or your
thing,
plans or anything?
well, the first thing on the football front, I want Orient to get 3 points on Saturday.
That's right.
Right.
We'll see if we can take care of that one for you.
That one, I'm campaigning for.
Have you been converted? You said you weren't a Leighton Orient fan from the start, but are you a converted fan?
I'm a converted Leighton Orient supporter. You know, I'm passionate about the club. You know, I believe and I support everybody in the club, from the staff, the management, every single player. I kick the ball with them.
That's
you know,
brilliant,
and even down to the youth players that we've got in the club. You know, from 8-year-olds right up to the senior players. You know, I want all of them to do well. You know, just not in football, but in their life in general.
Yeah.
You know, I've been very fortunate to have experienced things and seen things in my life. But you know, on a positive point, you know, I've done everything that I could have done and wanted to do, and having this illness just makes you open your eyes a lot more. And for me now, it's about making sure that I get into the community and let them know that, you know, I'm grateful for the support that they've given me, but I need them to make sure that if they've got any problems within themselves, go out and get it seen to, and not wait.
It's great to hear, Errol. It's a pleasure talking to you as always. You know, it brings a smile to my face chatting to you, because the smile never comes off yours.
You know, I'm always, you know, I'm fortunate that every day, right, I'm alive and I'm here to tell the story, and I will continue to do that.
Yeah, inspiring stuff. It's a pleasure.
Thanks.
All right, pal.
Thank you.